Hey, I'm Pops, and I want to talk about a new movie on Netflix. It's called Day Shift. And let me say this, there's a lot of different opinions, and I want to be sure I'm clear that movies can just be fun and look past problems and issues and things like that. And Netflix has a good history of having like a lot of good ideas, and then there's like major flaws or execution issues. So a movie like Red Notice can be really good on the surface, but then have a major casting flaw, or Gray Man can just be sort of like, yeah, with its main character. So Day Shift, though, is a lot of fun. Like, even with its flaws and its issues, it's a good time. Like, vampire killing is back. Who knew it would be Jamie Foxx and Snoop Dogg to make it happen? So, spoiler review. If you don't want to spoilers, don't want to watch, going to break down the whole movie for you, talk about some of the highs and lows and good experiences and things like that. And feel free to hit me up if you disagree. You like what I have to say, maybe you'll consider subscribing to the channel, leave your comments or recommendations in the comments, and we'll go from there. So, anyway, Day Shift is just a fun ride, right? Like, waste no time getting right to it. This is a director debut for J.J. Perry. He's a John Wick stunt guy. So if that tells you anything, you're going to know right from the first scene. So it centers around Jamie Foxx, who plays Bud. And he's basically a really buff pool guy. And you're like, okay, it's a cool little setup. And then they waste no time to realize that no, he's really secretly a vampire killer, pretending to be a pool guy. And you end up in this amazing, crazy fight scene with like Grandma Vampire. It's like off the chart crazy right out of the gate. And then there's like a little twist where he has this like silver metals thing that he hangs up, and of course that is used to decapitate a vampire when it runs at it. So he pulls their teeth. And why does he pull his teeth? Because he sells them to make some bank. So yeah, there's money for vampire teeth in this universe. But yeah, it all happens super fast. He throws on Granny's dress and walks out, and that's how the credits roll. It's such a great start. It's a great intro. This is the way you can make this kind of movie where you don't take yourself too serious, but you take your product serious enough to deliver a good experience. Anyway, so he's cleaned up, meets with his daughter. He gets introduced to Paige, his daughter. His wife and him are estranged. They're not really divorced yet. And then he goes to try to sell the teeth at a pawn shop. Ends up having to sell the Jordans right off his feet because he needs money really, really bad. Mom is ready to take his daughter to Florida to live with her mom. So they're like ready to bail out on him. He's a failure. He keeps his vampire stuff on the down low. Nobody knows this is what he does, right? So there's a lack of trust in the relationship. Nothing's going right in the relationship. So now the antagonist of the film is Audrey. She's a female vampire. She shows up where the dead vampire is. No, wait. First, I'm sorry. They introduce her first with her killing a vampire. They were cooking in the sun, burying him in concrete. Then shows up later, finds grandma, and that kind of thing. And they can smell and taste the blood. They walk by flowers and flowers die. That's like a weird thing that they just do. Don't ever explain. Don't ever have it come up again, I don't think. So that was kind of weird. So one of the best parts of the film is Snoop Dogg. He plays Big J, Big John. Shows up, country music's playing, big black truck. It's freaking great. I mean, who knew this was in there? Snoop Dogg's acting. Snoop Dogg is not playing Snoop Dogg. He's actually playing this crazy black cowboy vampire killer, and it is freaking great. So, anyway, so Bud can't get the money he needs out of the vampire teeth. He's going to have to go back to, quote, the vampire union. I'm not quite sure I understand why there's a vampire union or who's paying for the vampire union, but that's how they get their money, by the teeth, because once they pull the teeth, the vampires, I don't know. It's not all spelled out. You're not supposed to ask questions. You're supposed to just have some fun. So it kind of works. It's sort of like an MIB thing. But here, Big John is vouching for Bud to get him back. And the solution with the equivalent of Zed is this dude named Ralph, completely unlikable character nitpicky about all the protocol rules and why Bud's bad for business and breaks all the rules. And they basically stick him with Dave Franco's character, who's like the uber nerd named Seth. They're like in accounting, and it's like awkward jokes and blah 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 and all that. I mean, Seth's like, okay, Seth is like uber soy boy, like to the point where I paused. I wasn't sure if I wanted to really, if I could enjoy the movie because it got so bad. Like he's a cat person. He has to tell us about how he hates guns because they're like a killing machine, and he killed squirrels. And it's like, oh god, I don't know. It got really irritating. It was hard to press on. Anyway, Audrey is tracking down Bud for revenge because the grandma, spoiler alert, grandma is the daughter, right? So now she wants revenge to go after Bud. It doesn't move along real well. Like these scenes and this little subplot takes really a long time to get there. They don't make this villain remotely interesting. She's this pretty lady, so she's not intimidating at all. You don't see her vamp out at anybody really or anything like that until later. Anyway, Bud's going after like the generic vampires because he's stuck with the day shift. That's hence the name, because the vampires come out at night. That's where all the money can be made, but he's on probation, so he's got to go on the day shift with Seth. And it's all played for comedy because Seth, he's got like a girly image on his phone. He pees himself. He throws up. He's keeping notes on all this stuff, right? I was having a hard time with Seth. I really be honest. It was really hard to get through Seth. Anyway, so there's a lot of jokes that kind of move along okay, but then we get to the Nazarian brothers. Now the Nazarian brothers look like they're driving this crazy looking pest control truck, and they do vampire stuff, and they're super cool. I'm like, wow, this is going to be like an adult version of the Frog Brothers from the Lost Boys, and there are Lost Boys references in this movie. They decide they're going to team up, and this is the best freaking scene. Oh my gosh. Oh, if you've heard anything about Day Shift, it's because Bud and the Nazarian brothers are taking out vampires in this house where it's a nest. So they're everywhere. They're in the walls. They're in the ceilings. They're jumping this way, that way. They're doing all. And you can see that the photo, the promotional photo, you have Seth with his neck brace on because that's all he's good for. He can't handle the gun properly. He's going to shoot someone else. He leaves the safety on. He's completely useless in this scene. I think he pees himself again. Anyway, the action is top notch and makes this movie just totally go by, super fun. And that's really all you're wanting. You're just wanting more of that. And anyway, so the story moves past that scene. They make all the money on these teeth. And Bud is kind of pressured into taking the daughter to a birthday party. Well, that's when the head vampire calls and says, no, we're watching you. You have this crazy chase scene leaving the birthday party with vampires following in like a monster truck on motorcycles in traffic. The daughter at one point is playing Mario Kart on her tablet, and they play for a couple sight gags, and it's fine. I mean, the movie has too much cursing and stuff in it to really be for little kids. I don't even know if it would be considered PG-13 because of that. And it's kind of like over the top with gore, sort of, with the vampire stuff. It's not really gross or anything, but it would be probably a rated R film. Anyway, so they go for the little sight gag over Mario Kart and stuff, but it was fun. It's a great chase scene. Again, more action, more craziness, more silliness, all that's playing out. And then finally, he has to basically come clean because the vampires are at the house already. He's talking to the ex. Everyone's being held hostage because the vampire's going to try to get revenge by killing the daughter, right? Turning her into a vampire and then having her eat the mom. So Bud gets knocked out, and when he wakes up, and by the way, why is Seth there? This was really strange in this scene. So Seth is already there at the house, like he's been knocked out or whatever. Well, come to find out, this is the big twist: is they've turned Seth. She turned him, so he's a vampire. But why he's there? Don't ask a lot of questions. Just try to have some fun. It's pretty rare we can just have fun. If we overthink this movie, we'll realize it's not as good as most people are saying it is, because there's a lot of these little subplots and things like that. None of this stuff makes any sense. So it's a lot of just conveniences and things like that. And it's like, we should just know in our head how certain things play out. Like he's transforming into the vampire, so he doesn't quite know what he's doing. He looks in a mirror, and his image disappears. He hisses like a hiccup. He's like, and it's like, oh, I'm sorry. I don't. It's never explained all the rules exactly, because immediately he kind of lunges at Bud, who reacts and cuts his head off, but he doesn't die. Now, there was a scene earlier in the movie where Seth is talking about all these different types of vampires and things like that. And I would have to find that scene and watch it again to see if he explained that there is one type of vampire, I guess, that can have its head cut off and live, but he just holds his head on. And there's like a joke where they go over a speed bump and his head kind of bounces. And it's played for laughs and it's played for fun. And it is that. And if you want a vampire thing or somebody that's taking things way serious, then this is not for you. Because then there's another character that we have running around, and we don't explain. Now, Bud has a neighbor. He's living in this apartment. He's not in the house, and he has a neighbor named Heather. She's a pretty lady, and now all of a sudden, she is in the house. She's also a vampire. I don't know, can light her finger on fire and stuff. Like, anyway, I don't know. It's all played for craziness. They got to go on the big rescue mission because Audrey's got the mom and Paige, the daughter, and Bud's got to figure out a way to save everybody. So that's what they do. They show up with Seth and Heather that are both vampires. Seth, who's completely useless, but his head's been lopped off. He's holding on. That's healing in some way, shape, or form. And then Seth admits that he called Snoop. He called Big John. Big John is really funny, by the way. Big John was great because then when in that early scene when they're first showing up at the union, the office, all the ladies are like, "Hey, call me!" Like they all are hitting on Big John, like he's been hitting everybody. Anyway, they all go to fight. Another fight scene. You can see Heather. Heather's like super vamp, super girl. It's fine. We don't even know. She just talks her way into scenes and starts beating people up, and we're all just supposed to take it because it's fun. But like I said, don't think too much into overanalyzing this stuff because then you start to get frustrated with it. But it has some good play. Anyway, Snoop gets bit, John gets bit, but he sacrifices himself to stop the vampire so that Bud can go save the day. Seth and Heather fight Claus. He's basically the big tough guy. He's like a Russian tough guy looking dude. That's Aubrey's muscle. It takes both of them. They at some point basically just figure out a way to just rip his arms off. It's so great and fun and stupid. I had a good time. Anyway, long story short, Aubrey's like super vampire. She's fast. She does this. She does that. She's going to kick Bud's neck. But anyway, he finally pulls the gun and actually shoots her. And there's a pause. Like you think that it might actually hurt her. She kind of laughs it off. And when she charges, she doesn't realize that he set up his little string thing, lops her head off. Right. Now, Seth could live without his head, so I'm not quite sure what's going on. So anyway, so Heather and Seth are considered good vampires. We're not going to kill them. Seth pretends to not be a vampire to the Ralph guy, the head union guy, and he has this big long blah, 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 all of these rules and regulations. Bud's fine. Don't give him a hard time. I'm staying in the field. This is what I want to do now. And there's a little outtake, little after credit scene type thing or whatever, where you see Big John come out of a sewer and he starts smoking. He's cool. He survived, whatever. So, what can I say? Movie is fun. It is not as clever as some people are talking about. You see a lot of really high recommendations and whatever, but it's because you had a good time. The story makes enough sense. We have enough silliness and things and contrivances and whatever that we can still just go along and have a decent time with some of the stuff. Is it an end all be all, the vampire stuff? Is it something that's no? It's none of those things. It's goofy and silly and fun. It's one of the better Netflix products for that reason, because I think that movies like Red Notice try not to take themselves seriously, but they end up doing it. I think you see movies like Gray Man, which could have done a lot better if they hadn't taken themselves so seriously. And Day Shift was a fine thing. One of the better Netflix shows in a while. So anyway, maybe you think I'm off base. High, positive, low, either way. Feel free to leave your comments and suggestions. I'll take those. But for now, I'm Pops, and that's what I got for you. So I will see you guys soon.
Yeah. Rap Circle is finally here.